The Boardwalk Diner Chapter 1, The Late Shift, 00:15. My name's Ethan, 27, and I've been washing dishes at this rundown diner on the boardwalk in St. John's, Newfoundland, for 3 months now. It's 2018, and St. John's is all salt air and fog, a city clinging to the edge of Canada where the Atlantic bites at the cliffs. The diner's a relic, neon sign flickering, Sally's, in pink and blue, windows smudged with grease, booths cracked from years of sailors and tourists. I'm an American, came up from Maine after a bad breakup, needed somewhere to disappear. Dishwashing's mindless, scrub plates, dodge the cooks yelling, go home smelling like fry oil. Suits me fine. Most nights, it's just me, the hum of the fridge, and the radio spitting out fuzzy pop songs. Around 1 a.m., I saw her walk in, Grace, the night manager, maybe 40, hair pulled back tight, eyes sharp like she's counting every dime in the register. She runs this place like it's her own, though it's not. I've seen her before, always moving, always checking something. Tonight, she lingered by the counter, wiping it down even though it was clean. "You're here late, Ethan," she said, voice low, like she was testing me. "Nowhere else to be," I said, drying my hands. She nodded, didn't smile, just looked at me a second too long before turning away. Something about it stuck, like a splinter I couldn't see. 00:47, next shift, she was there again, same time, same routine. I was scrubbing a pan when she leaned against the sink, arms crossed, watching the rain smear the windows. "You ever get tired of this?" she asked, not looking at me. "The grind, the grease?" "Sometimes," I said, "but it's better than thinking." She gave a small laugh, barely there, like she knew what I meant. I caught the way her fingers tapped the counter, restless, like she was waiting for something to break the quiet. Chapter 2, The Quiet Connection. 01:12. By October, Grace was a constant. She'd show up after midnight, when the diner was empty except for a drunk fisherman or two. We'd work in silence mostly, me washing, her balancing books or restocking coffee filters. She didn't talk much, but her presence was steady, like the tide outside. I started noticing things, the way her hands moved quick and sure, the faint scar on her knuckle, how her hair slipped loose when she leaned over the counter. I didn't mean to notice, but I did. One night, she handed me a coffee, black, no sugar, said, "You look like you need it." Our fingers brushed, just for a second, and my chest tightened. "Thanks," I muttered, trying not to look at her too long. She didn't say anything, just went back to her ledger, but I felt her eyes on me when I turned away. 01:39, a week later, we were closing up, rain hammering the roof. I was mopping the floor when she dropped a stack of napkins, swore under her breath. I bent to help, and our hands met on the same napkin, her fingers warm against mine. She didn't pull away right away, just looked at me, her eyes softer than usual. "You don't have to stay, you know," she said, voice quiet. "This place lit you up." "So why do you stay?" I asked, still holding the napkin. She shrugged, looked away. "Someone's gotta keep it running." We didn't say more, but the air felt heavier, like we'd said too much already. Chapter 3, The Pull of the Past. 02:04. Grace started opening up, bit by bit. Told me she'd grown up in St. John's, married young, lost her husband to a fishing accident 5 years back. "This diner's all I've got," she said one night, wiping down the counter while I stacked plates. "Keeps me busy, keeps me sane." Her voice was steady, but there was a crack in it, like she was holding something back. I wanted to ask more, but her eyes said don't, so I didn't. I told her about Maine, the breakup, how I'd left because everything there reminded me of someone I didn't want to be. "You running from something too?" she asked, half smiling. "Maybe," I said, and she nodded, like she got it. We didn't push, just let the word sit between us, quiet and real. 02:36, that night, I found a photo behind the counter, tucked in a drawer, Grace, younger, laughing with a man on a boat, wind in her hair. I didn't mean to snoop, but I couldn't look away. When she caught me, her face went still. "That's him," she said, taking the photo, her fingers brushing mine. "Better days." "You look happy," I said, stupidly. "Was," she said, and put the photo back, closing the drawer like it was a door to somewhere she couldn't go. Chapter 4, The Unspoken Line. 03:08 November came, cold and wet, the boardwalk empty except for gulls and fog. Grace and I fell into a rhythm, closing shifts, coffee at 2 a.m., small talk that wasn't so small. I liked her, more than I should have. She was older, widowed, my boss, but there was something in the way she moved, the way she'd lean close to point out a smudge on a glass, her arm brushing mine. It wasn't nothing, but it wasn't something I could name either. One night, we were restocking sugar packets, our shoulders almost touching. "You ever think about leaving?" I asked, my voice low. "Every day," she said, not looking up. "But I'd miss this." She gestured at the diner, the flickering neon, the rain outside. "And you," she added, so quiet I almost missed it. My heart stopped, just for a second, and when I looked at her, her eyes were on me, unguarded, like she'd let something slip. 03:40 We didn't talk about it after, but it changed things. I started staying later, finding excuses to help, fixing a wobbly table, cleaning the grill. She'd let me, didn't say much, but her smiles were softer, her glances longer. Once, she handed me a rag, our fingers touching, and neither of us pulled away. It was small, but it burned, like a match struck in the dark. "Careful, Ethan," she said once, her voice teasing but sharp. "You're gonna make me think you like it here." "Maybe I do," I said, and her laugh was low, like she knew what I meant. Chapter 5, The Forbidden Touch. 04:12 December hit, and the diner was dead, just us and the occasional trucker. One night, the power flickered, lights buzzing, and we ended up in the storage room, looking for candles. It was cramped, shelves packed with cans and boxes, the air smelling like dust and old spices. Grace reached for a shelf, her sleeve catching on a nail, tearing a small hole. She laughed, same as always, but when I looked, I saw her collarbone, pale and sharp under the dim light. "You okay?" I asked, my voice catching. "Fine," she said, but her eyes were on mine, and we were close, too close. I reached out, not thinking, and brushed her sleeve, my fingers grazing her skin. She didn't move, just breathed out, slow, like she was holding something in. "Ethan," she said, her voice barely there, and I froze, my hand still on her arm. 04:44 We didn't move for a second, maybe two. Then she stepped back, her hand brushing mine as she pulled away. "We can't," she said, but it wasn't angry, just heavy, like she was saying it to herself. I nodded, my throat tight, and we went back to the candles, like nothing happened. But it did, and we both knew it. The air was different after, thick with what we didn't say that night. I lay awake, replaying her voice, her touch, the way her eyes held mine. I knew it was wrong, her past, my place here, the diner, but I couldn't stop thinking about it, about her. Chapter 6, The Weight of Silence. 05:16 January was brutal, wind howling off the Atlantic, the diner's windows rattling like they'd break. Grace and I kept working, kept talking, but there was a wall now, one we built ourselves. She'd smile, hand me coffee, but her eyes didn't linger anymore. I wanted to ask about that night, about what she meant, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, we talked about the weather, the broken fryer, anything safe. One night, she stayed late, counting cash while I mopped. "You're quiet tonight," she said, not looking up. "Just tired," I lied. She nodded, but I saw her hands pause, like she wanted to say more. We locked up in silence, her standing closer than she needed to, her shoulder brushing mine as we checked the door. It was small, but it was enough to keep me awake. 05:48 I started noticing more, her wedding ring, still on her finger, glinting under the diner's lights. The way she'd hum jazz when she thought no one was listening. How she'd pause by the window, staring at the boardwalk like it held answers. I wanted to know her, not just the manager, not just Miles's mom from another life, but her. And that want, it scared me, because it wasn't just a crush. It was deeper, heavier, something I couldn't shake. Chapter 7, The Breaking Point. 06:20 February brought snow, rare for St. John's, blanketing the boardwalk in white. The diner was empty, just us, the radio crackling with static. We were cleaning the grill, side by side, when she slipped, caught herself on my arm. Her hand stayed there, warm, steady, and I didn't pull away. "Sorry," she said, but she didn't move, and neither did I. "Grace," I said, my voice low, "what are we doing?" She looked at me, her eyes tired but open. "I don't know," she said. "But I don't want to stop." My heart pounded, and I leaned closer, just enough to feel her breath. We didn't kiss, didn't touch, but the air between us was alive, like a wire sparking. Then the phone rang, shattering it, and she stepped back, answering it like nothing happened. 06:52. After that, we were careful, too careful. She'd avoid being alone with me, send me to the back when we closed. But I'd catch her looking, her eyes meeting mine across the diner, quick, then gone. It was like we were circling something neither of us could name, something that'd burn us if we got too close. I hated it, but I couldn't leave, not the diner, not her. Chapter 8, The Confession. 07:24. March came, and the tension broke. We were closing, just us, the boardwalk silent outside. I was wiping down tables when she came out of the office, her hair loose, her face softer than I'd ever seen. "Ethan," she said, standing by the counter, "I need to say something." I stopped, my rag still in hand. "Okay. I'm not sorry about that night," she said, her voice steady but quiet. "I should be, but I'm not. And that scares me." "Scares me too," I said, and it was the truth. "But I don't want to forget it." She nodded, her eyes on mine, and for a moment, we were just two people, not manager and dishwasher, not widow and drifter. "We can't do this," she said, but her voice cracked, like she didn't believe it. 07:56. We didn't touch, didn't cross that line again, but we talked, really talked, for the first time. She told me about her husband, how he'd loved the sea, how she'd hated it after he died. I told her about Maine, the fights, the way I'd left because I didn't know who I was anymore. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make the diner feel smaller, closer, like it was ours. Chapter 9, The Unspoken Promise. 08:28. April was warmer, the boardwalk waking up with tourists and kids. Grace and I settled into something new, not a relationship, not quite, but a closeness that didn't need words. We'd work late, share coffee, laugh at dumb things like a broken coffee pot or a seagull stealing fries. Her touch was careful, a hand on my arm, a brush of her fingers when she handed me a plate, but it was there, and it was enough. One night, we sat on the boardwalk after closing, the diner dark behind us. "You ever think about going back?" she asked, her voice soft. "To Maine?" I said. "Not really." "You?" "Sometimes," she said, looking at the water. "But not enough to leave." I nodded, and we sat there, the waves crashing, our shoulders almost touching. It wasn't a promise, but it felt like 1.09:00. The diner's owner, some guy in Toronto, started talking about selling. Grace was stressed, checking numbers late, her hands shaking when she poured coffee. "If this place goes, I'm done," she said one night, her voice breaking. I wanted to hold her, tell her it'd be okay, but I just stood there, useless. "You'd find something," I said, lame as it sounded. "Maybe," she said, but her eyes were distant, like she was already somewhere else. Chapter 10, The Lingering Ache. 09:32. It's 2019 now, and the diner's still here, still ours, for now. Grace and I keep the routine, dishes, coffee, late nights. We don't talk about that night in the storage room, or the almost kiss by the grill, but it's there, in the way she looks at me, the way I stay later than I need to. The boardwalk's busier, tourists crowding the booths, but it's still just us after midnight, the neon flickering, the ocean humming outside. That I think about her husband, her ring, the years she's carried alone. I think about Maine, the life I left, the one I'm building here. We're not lovers, not really, but we're something, two people caught in a diner, in a moment, in something we can't name. I see her now, wiping the counter, her hair loose, and I know I'll stay, not because I have to, but because I want to. Because whatever this is, it's enough. For now. Conclusion. The Echo of the Waves, 09:35, it's 2022 now, 3 years since I wrote those last words about the diner, about Grace, about us. I'm 30, still washing dishes at Sally's on the boardwalk in St. John's, Newfoundland, though the neon sign's down to just Sal now, the rest flickering out last winter. The diner's still standing, barely, its wood-paneled walls warped from salt air, the booths more cracked than ever. St. John's hasn't changed much, fog rolls in off the Atlantic, the cliffs loom gray and sharp, and the waves keep crashing, steady, like they're counting time. Grace is still here, still the night manager, still moving like she's holding this place together with her hands. I'm still here too, still American, still running from Maine, from a life that feels like someone else's now. The diner's our anchor, our cage, and we're both too stubborn to leave. 09:57, the past 3 years have been a slow grind, like scrubbing grease that won't come off. We keep the diner running, me on dishes, Grace on the books, both of us dodging the owner's calls about selling. He's in Toronto, doesn't care about this place, just wants a check. Grace fights it, sends emails, makes calls, her voice sharp when she talks to him, but soft when she turns to me, handing me coffee, black, no sugar, like always. We've got a rhythm now, a quiet one, wipe counters, stack plates, lock up at 2 a.m. The boardwalk's empty then, just gulls and the hum of the ocean, and we'll sit sometimes, not talking, just listening to the waves. Grace has changed, though, in small ways. Her hair's got a few silver strands now, tucked into her usual bun, and her eyes are tired, not just from late shifts but from carrying this place, her past, maybe me. She still wears her wedding ring, gold and worn, glinting under the diner's lights. I don't ask about it, never have, but I notice it every time she hands me a rag or brushes past me in the narrow kitchen. It's a reminder, not of her husband, but of the lines we don't cross, the ones we almost did. 10:19, we've built something, Grace and I, though I don't know what to call it. Not love, not exactly, but something close, something that lives in the quiet spaces, her handing me a muffin from her bag, me fixing a leaky faucet without her asking. We fight sometimes, small things, like when I leave wet towels on the counter or she snaps about the schedule. Ethan, you gotta check the roster, she said once, her voice sharp, and I shot back, maybe if you didn't change it every day we didn't talk for a shift, but then she left a coffee on the sink, and I knew we were okay. That's how we are, messy, careful, tied together by this diner and something neither of us names. That I think about that night in the storage room, her sleeve tearing, my fingers on her arm. I think about the almost kiss by the grill, the way her breath felt against my face. We haven't touched like that again, not really, but it's there, in the way her hand lingers when she hands me a plate, the way I catch her looking when she thinks I'm not. It's not nothing, but it's not something we can have, not fully. She's Grace, widow, manager, someone who's seen too much to let go easily. And I'm just Ethan, the guy who washes dishes, who ran from Maine and found her. 10:41, the diner's struggling. Tourists come in summer, but winter's dead, just us and a few locals who tip in coins. Grace works harder, stays later, her hands shaking when she counts cash. I help where I can, fixing chairs, cleaning the fryer, even taking orders when the waitress calls in sick. The cook, a guy named Paul, says we're crazy, says this place is a sinking ship. You and Grace, you're like those old sailors, too stubborn to jump, he said once, laughing. I didn't laugh back. He doesn't get it, doesn't see the way Grace looks at the boardwalk, like it's the only thing keeping her steady. That I found a notebook in the office last year, tucked under receipts, Grace's, not a logbook, just pages of numbers, doodles, fragments of thoughts. One page had my name, written small, like she didn't mean to. Ethan, too young, too kind. I didn't tell her I saw it, but it stayed with me, like a song I can't stop humming. I wonder what she meant, if she's scared of me, of us, or if it's something else, something about her that she keeps locked away. 11:03, we've had close calls. Last summer, the owner came down, a slick guy in a suit, talking about condos, how the boardwalk's prime real estate. Grace argued, her voice steady but her hands clenched, said the diner's a landmark, part of St. John's. He didn't care, just looked at his phone, said he'd give her a month to figure it out. We stayed up all night after, going through numbers, trying to make it work. We can't lose this, she said, her voice breaking, and I wanted to hold her, but I didn't. Just sat there, passing her coffee, feeling useless that night. She leaned against me, just for a second, her shoulder against mine. You don't have to stay, Ethan, she said, quiet. This isn't your fight. It's ours, I said, and she didn't argue, just nodded, her eyes on the floor. We didn't save the diner that night, but we kept it going, one shift at a time. 11:25, the boardwalk's changing. New shops opening, cafes with fancy signs, tourists snapping photos of the cliffs. It's good for St. John's, but it makes me nervous. More people, more eyes on the diner, on us. Last fall, a kid from town, some blogger, came in asking about the history of Sally's. Grace brushed him off, said it's just a diner, but he kept poking, asking about old owners, old stories. I saw her hands shake when she poured his coffee, saw the way she glanced at me, like she was scared he'd see too much. That I wanted to tell her it's okay, that no one knows about us, about that night, about the way we are. But I didn't, because what could I say? That I think about her every time I scrub a plate, every time the neon flickers. That I see her in the fog, in the waves, in the quiet of this place. She knows, I think, but we don't say it. We just keep going, keep the diner alive, keep whatever this is alive. 11:47, Grace is different now, more open, but still guarded. She'll laugh sometimes, a low, warm sound that catches me off guard, makes my chest ache. She'll talk about her husband, not often, but enough, how he'd sing off-key, how he loved the sea even when it took him. I hated it after, she said once, sitting by the counter, her hands wrapped around a mug. But now, I don't know. It's part of me. Like the diner, I asked. Like you, she said, and then looked away, like she hadn't meant to say it. I didn't push, just let it sit, heavy and real, between us. 12:09, we've had moments, small ones, that keep me here. Last winter, the pipes froze, and we spent a night thawing them, laughing when water sprayed everywhere, soaking us both. Her hair was loose, clinging to her face, and I brushed it back, my fingers grazing her cheek. She didn't pull away, just looked at me, her eyes soft, unguarded. Careful, she said, but it wasn't a warning, not really. It was an invitation, one we didn't take, but it was there. Another time, we were closing, the boardwalk dark, the waves loud. She handed me my jacket, her fingers brushing mine, and I held her hand, just for a second, before letting go. Good night, Ethan, she said, her voice low, and I felt it, the pull, the ache, the thing we don't name. 12:31, the owner's back, pushing harder now. Says the diner's done, says the land's worth more than we make in a year. Grace fights, but she's tired, I can see it. Her hands shake when she writes emails, her voice cracks when she talks to suppliers. I help where I can, take extra shifts, but it's not enough. Paul quit last month, said he's done with this ghost ship. It's just us now, Grace and me, and a part-time waitress who barely shows. I found another note in her notebook, tucked under a menu, my name again, with "Don't let him stay" written next to it. I don't know if it's about me leaving the diner or something else, something deeper. I didn't ask, just put it back, but it's there, in my head, every time I see her. 12:53, the boardwalk's alive now, summer 2022, tourists everywhere, kids running with ice cream, music spilling from new bars. The diner's a holdout, a stubborn old thing that doesn't fit. Grace and I keep it running, but it's harder, like pushing against the tide. We don't talk about the future, not really, but I see it in her eyes, the fear, the weight. We'll figure it out, I say, and she nods, but it's not conviction, it's just habit. One night, we're closing, the air warm, the neon buzzing. She's wiping the counter, slow, like she's memorizing it. You ever think about what's next? I ask, leaning against the sink. All the time, she says, not looking up. But I don't know if I'm ready. For what? I ask, my voice low. For anything else, she says, and her eyes meet mine, raw, open, like she's letting me see her for the first time. 13:15 We've had one big fight, just one, last spring. The owner sent papers, a final notice, and Grace was furious, tearing through the office, throwing receipts. I can't lose this, she said, her voice breaking. I tried to calm her, said we'd find a way, but she turned on me. You don't get it, Ethan. This isn't your home. You can leave. It stung, worse than I expected. Maybe I don't want to, I said, and she stopped, her hands shaking, her eyes wet. I'm sorry, she said, quiet, and I nodded, but we didn't touch, didn't close the gap. We just went back to work, like always. 13:37 I think about her husband, about the photo I found, her laughing on that boat. I think about Maine, the life I left, the one I'm living now. I think about Grace, her ring, her hands, the way she looks at me when the diner's empty. We're not lovers, not in the way people mean, but we're something, two people caught in a diner, in a moment, in a city that's moving on without us. I see her now, counting cash, her hair slipping loose, and I know I'm staying, not because I have to, but because I can't imagine anywhere else. 13:59 Last week, we sat on the boardwalk after closing, the waves loud, the air cool. She leaned against me, her shoulder against mine, and I felt it, the weight of her, the warmth. You're still here, she said, her voice soft. So are you, I said, and she smiled, that low, warm smile that makes my chest ache. We didn't say more, just sat there, the diner dark behind us, the ocean stretching out in front. It's not a promise, not a plan, but it's enough. 14:21 The owner's coming next month, says it's final this time. Grace is ready to fight, but I see the strain, the way her hands shake, the way her eyes go distant. I'll fight with her, take shifts, make calls, whatever it takes. The diner's not just a job, not just a place, it's us, it's what we've built, fragile as it is. I found another note yesterday, in her notebook, just my name, no words. I don't know what it means, but I kept it, folded in my pocket, like a secret I'm not ready to let go. 14:43 It's late now, the diner quiet, the neon flickering. Grace is in the office, her silhouette soft through the glass. I'm washing dishes, the water warm, the radio humming some old song. I think about that night, her sleeve, her skin, the way we didn't cross that line but wanted to. I think about her laugh, her hands, the way she says my name. I think about the boardwalk, the waves, the life we're holding on to. We're not forever, Grace and I, but we're now, and as I stand here, the water running, her shadow moving, I know it's enough. For now.